ask any member of the public who is logged in to testify to please mute your phone or computer until they are called on. And the Board of Commissioners as the governing body of Clatsop County, all county service districts for which this body so acts, and as a Clatsop County Local Contract Review Board is now meeting in regular session. Clerk of the Board, may we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Nebaker? Commissioner Quila?
Here.
Commissioner Webb?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Here. Okay, so we have a full board tonight, and let's move on to the agenda approval. Do we have any comments about the agenda? Do we have any objections about the agenda? Okay, so hearing none, I'm taking it that we have a consensus to approve the agenda. All those in favor of the agenda, any objections?
I'm sorry, Commissioner
Okay.
Sullivan. Could I please get a motion and a second for the agenda approval?
Madam
Thank
Chair,
you. I can't seem to ever get that right from week to week. So do I have a motion to pass the agenda?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Thompson moves to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. A second from Commissioner Nebaker. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any objections? Hearing none, the agenda passes unanimously. So we are now moving on to business from the public. This is an opportunity for anyone to give a 2-minute presentation about any item on the agenda except public hearings or any topic of county concern that is not on the agenda. Clerk of the Board, are there any written comments that were sent in from the public?
Yes, I have one comment here. It says, Commissioners, I am writing to address a concern that has come to my attention over the past week. After emailing the commissioners and receiving little response, I've chosen to go on record in a public forum as I believe it is important for citizens to be aware of issues regarding their elected officials and have reference of such issues as this if they should continue to happen. My concern is in regards to an elected official speaking out at a state board meeting in support of a topic that has yet to be addressed or voted on by our current board or open to public input/comment. Using terms such as full support and we support, referring to the entire Clatsop County Board of Commissioners causes a belief that this topic has come to a unanimous vote by our elected Board of Commissioners. I'm writing to you not to address the topic of whether this board does or does not support something, but to address the fact that a commissioner was speaking out of turn and without following due process of this board. I'm requesting a retraction of statement of support to the state board that was addressed. I'm requesting that all of the state board members are informed that this commissioner was speaking about her personal beliefs and thoughts and not the beliefs and thoughts of this county board and county citizens as a whole. Thank you for your time and consideration in this very important matter. Katie Pritchard. That's all the business from the public.
Thank you very much. Are there any members of the board who have registered to speak?
No.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Nebaker?
Chair Sullivan, what did you just ask?
If there we're still in the public business from the public, and I asked if there's anyone that had registered to speak, because Teresa had read the written comments, and I was wondering if anybody was online that would like to speak.
Oh,
And Teresa said nobody had.
I thought you asked if any member of the board wished to speak. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know. I might have came out of my mouth wrong. What I meant to say was, clerk of the board, are there any members of the public who are registered to speak? That's what I meant to say if I didn't say that. So thank you for correcting me. And Teresa, there is no anyone online to speak. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. So we will move on to the consent calendar.
Madam Chair.
And once again, I see that I'm having difficulty with my network connection, so hopefully people can continue to hear me. So on the consent calendar, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Thompson moves to adopt the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of the consent calendar, please say aye.
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 Any opposing? Okay, the consent calendar has been approved. So let's move on to the commissioners' liaison reports. Who would like to go first today? Commissioner Aquila, we have not heard from you yet. Would you like to go first today?
You know, I don't have any commissioner liaison report. I would make one comment to the public comment. I know that person was referring to the Board of Forestry and an endorsement of the Habitat Conservation Plan. And I know that we haven't done that. We haven't discussed that since I've been on the county commission. So I just wanted to verify that we haven't taken a position on the Habitat Conservation Plan for the forestry.
Okay, thank you. Who else would like to go? Commissioner Webb?
I don't think I have anything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Nebaker?
Yes, I have a couple of things. And first of all, since that public comment, since Commissioner Aquila addressed that, I would also like to address it. This is something that was taken up with the prior board, and there was full agreement on that board at that time, except perhaps for Commissioner Thompson because she's shaking her head. But the rest of the board was in agreement on that. And as far as no response from Katie, can't remember her last name, but I saw the letter and it was pretty full letter from the chair that went back to her. So to say there was little response from anyone is not fair because, in fact, it isn't even true. There was a complete letter written in response, and it was quick. So I dispute that comment from her. I attended the Public Safety Coordinating Council meeting, and they discussed the Impacts Grant, which is to provide wraparound services between the courts and the Sheriff's Department and mental health. This grant will be used to hire a person or a case coordinator who will intersect with mental health, parole and probation, and the mental health hospital, I think, if I'm not mistaken. This population who has been helped with the mobile crisis team will have better access with this person who will coordinate. For example, there's 18 individuals on supervised status for 1 year that have had, so 18 individuals have had 689 contacts that required law enforcement. Outreach through the, pardon me? Oh, I thought someone said something. So the outreach through the RAHs and the ACT team will take place. It will continue, but this will enable far better coordination for services. And of course, developing more housing options would make a big difference for this population. Letters of support will come hopefully from the hospitals and law enforcement and the DA. And I think they've already signed on. The sheriff could correct me if I'm mistaken. It's unknown how fast the money will come. Let's see, we also discussed racism in law enforcement. That was a good discussion. Not that I'm saying there is racism in our law enforcement. We just had the discussion. And let's see, we also discussed the issue of childcare and the difficulty of that. as people go back to work. Classic Behavioral Health is closing in on the purchase of the respite center. But because it's taken a while, the price has gone down, so that's good. Also, on June 20th, there will be a placement of the first piece of public art in Gearhart. And there will be an event that will take place in the courtyard of the sweet shop in Gearhart, where that piece will be placed. And that project has been in the works for 2 years, and I have watched the development of that. I have met with the artist, and she is someone who lives part-time in France and part-time in Los Angeles. And it's going to be something that is very relevant to this particular area. So if you want to venture out, you can come and see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nebaker. Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Falcon Cove Beach Water Board saga continues. The moratorium has been lifted. I'd like to appreciate the quality of reporting in our local Astorian newspaper. In my point of view, it's accurate and pretty complete. So thanks for that. And we'll continue having those meetings to decide whether or not another well needs to be drilled, which is a matter of some considerable economic impact on the ratepayers. I'd also mention that on the 8th of June, there was a small business legal clinic that was an online session. Lewis and Clark Law School has a small business legal clinic. So if small business owners need help, not litigation, but legal advice, they can access it for a reasonable fee. I'm looking at all my notes. There was also a fireside chat last night on station KXCR at 5 p.m. on the 9th of July. They talked about what's again, it's broadband. Broadband's the big conversation. Representative Pam Marsh from Ashland is on the Oregon Broadband Advisory Council, and she was talking about the essentials for developing broadband. One is institutional capacity. That's Business Oregon and Link Oregon. There's only one staffer, Chris Tamarin. He's been meeting with us. Commissioner Webb, I'm trying to address your concerns as much as I can in a short time. He's been meeting with us to talk about how we can make progress here. She said there need to be collaborative partners and stakeholders. We're working on gathering those. She said there needs to be predictable funding as the third factor. Funding for planning, for technical advice, and for infrastructure. So Senator Roblin was also on this radio show. He said that $20 million was allocated last week by the emergency board to be spent by the end of the year. That's really fast tracking money. $10 million goes to Link Phase 2, which covers Southern and Eastern Oregon, all the universities, community colleges, telemedicine, all that sort of thing, which is great for Southern and Eastern Oregon. We're still looking at the coast. There is $10 million left to connect schools and libraries, wireless internet mapping and planning. They're also looking at agriculture, and he had precision irrigation and precision agriculture, which is related to the availability of broadband because farmers can control it from their phones, which is interesting. I have an appointment tomorrow to speak with Joe Fresnel, who's the chair of the Broadband Advisory, the OBAC. Commissioner Yamamoto, our neighbor to the south, has facilitated that interaction. He's excited to work with us. What Senator Roblin said is this is a game changer for everyone. So moving forward with that, Amy Lovelace, next topic. Amy Lovelace has been our staffer for the Child Care Task Force. COVID kind of shut that down and really delayed it. The funding for her position is now gone. She's going to turn over to me, I hope tomorrow, a report that we can pass around and use to support our county commission's support of improved child care opportunities in Clatsop County. And the last thing I mentioned in the work session is there's a listening session of the District 7 commissioners next Thursday at 2 o'clock with the commissioners from Columbia, Clatsop, Tillamook, and Lincoln counties. And so we hope to be talking about what can we do as a region, as a district, to address the needs that we have in common. And I assume that COVID is the hot topic of that meeting. So I'm happy to interact with other commissioners offline or staff, whatever is useful in that regard. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. For myself, I am interested in learning more about the topics that you brought up, Commissioner Thompson, broadband and particularly daycare. And so I will look forward to hearing more about that. Other than that, I look like I have slow network connection. Can people hear me?
Yes.
Are people hearing me?
Yes, it comes and goes, but you're good now.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, thank you. Well, why don't we just go ahead and move ahead and see if we can complete this this meeting. So, County Manager Don Boone, would you like to give a report?
Sure, Chair Sullivan, members of the board. I want to thank you for your flexibility as we had to cancel and reschedule the strategic planning work session. And so we're looking at July 7th for that. The good news is we'll be sending materials to you weeks before that meeting so that you have time to read them over. So we hope to give you 10 days to 2 weeks. So there's always the rosy side of. So the other is that today Mike, Dr. Heinitz, and myself participated in a Zoom call that was coordinated by the Governor's Office Regional Solutions to talk about river cruise ships. There's a desire for the river cruise ships to begin their work again, and there's still concerns from the ports themselves, because they want to make sure that the cruise ships are going to be able to operate safely, but there's obviously public health concerns also. And so that conversation will be continuing. The Port of Astoria, City of Astoria, Public Health, the county, generally speaking, will be meeting further and talking through that. The biggest concern is just what happens if somebody gets sick on the ship, and what does that mean to the limited medical capacity that we have. And so we're still working through that, but I just wanted to let your board know that that's an ongoing conversation. And it's not just us, it goes all the way up to Clarkston, Washington. So there's a lot of ports, Hood River, the Dalles, and then down to Clatsop, Portland also. So that's ongoing. And then, COVID is going to be with us. And so we're continuing to work through all the facets of that and monitoring. So, and as we transition to a more open building, as I mentioned before, we'll be talking to your board about how the future looks in terms of your board meetings and other public meetings. So we'll have that conversation soon. So and that's all for me today.
Thank you, County Manager. I have shut off my camera, including the board, because I am continuing to have internet trouble here.
Commissioner Nebeker has a
so-
comment.
I'm sorry, who?
Commissioner Nebeker has a comment.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for helping me, Teresa, with this. Commissioner Nebeker?
Thank you. So I read today, I believe it's Harvard, and I know that these models are, they're models and they have errors, but based on states reopening and what they saw people were doing over Memorial Day weekend, not just here, but everywhere, they're predicting 100,000 more deaths by September. And I am wondering if there is a plan in place are we just going to continue opening more and more? Is the state planning on just continuing to open because of the economy? And is there any talk about contingencies?
Well, I think Mike might want to weigh in, but I will start. And phase 2 is as far as Oregon's going until there's a vaccine. And so what we've heard from the governor's office is that phase 2 is going to stall out until there is a vaccine. So, and I think that there are contingency planning going on at the state level. And certainly the idea is that if there are pockets, that there will have to be dialing down of some of the easing of the restrictions. And so there are conversations, and I think time will tell, Commissioner, on how aggressive that those approaches will be based upon the data.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, let's move into the budget hearings. This is the time set for the public hearing there are 5 separate budgets that we will be addressing, and we'll take them one by one. And this is the time to set for public hearing on the fiscal year 2021 Clatsop County budget. May we have the staff report?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner. So the Budget Committee approved on May 28th the 2021 fiscal year proposed budget. And the next step of the process is for the board to hold a public hearing on the approved budget. The purpose is to consider testimony from any and all persons who may wish to comment on the budget that was approved, and there is no action required by the board at this time. In addition, during the next couple weeks before bringing the budget before the board to be adopted, staff is evaluating the need for any request adjustments to the approved budget based on information that we learn in regards to things that didn't get spent in the current year that are going to need to be rolled over into the next fiscal year and so forth. Any adjustments that are brought to the board will be pursuant to ORS 294.456, which says that we could bring reductions or eliminations of any required or proposed expenditure, and any increases in expenditure that we bring before you can't be more than $5,000 or 10%, whichever is greater, of the budget committee approved within each fund. Or if we have increase in expenditures by more than 5,000 or 10% of any fund, we need to republish and hold a second hearing before July 1st. So at this time, the 2021 budget that was approved has appropriation authority in the amount of $102,546,070 for the county-wide budget, and this excludes the 4 service districts. There's also unappropriated ending fund balances of the amount of $5,676,500 in the general fund, $5,129,080 in the general roads fund, and $6,027,950 in the special projects fund. So staff asks that the board now hold the public hearing on the 2021 budget for the Clatsop County pursuant to ORS 294.45. And again, no further action is to be taken at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Steele. I will open the public hearing. Clerk of the board, has anyone registered to testify?
Yes, I also have a written comment that I'll read, and then I have one person registered to testify.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I am once again providing public comment regarding budget approval for the Arch Cape Watershed Special District, or excuse me, Special Project under what I assume is the contingency line item 82-9900 on page 441 of the 2020-21 budget document. I assume that it is within the Special Projects Fund in the same manner it was included in the 2019-20 fiscal year. The line item shows an amount of $750,000. $500,000 of that is contingency for the fund, and $250,000 is set aside should the Budget Committee approve it for the Arch Cape Watershed. If I am correct in the above statement, I would like to reiterate the unprecedented move that this would be as a county to approve such a venture. Since this watershed is not a county municipality, it would be akin to the county giving $250,000 to a general business with no expectation of either owning or holding accountable said business. In essence, it would open the door to open independent districts to request fair and equal attention. At this time, I can't imagine the county being able to support the special interests and needs of each independent district, especially since in the past, each district has been and should continue to be responsible for their own needs and upgrades. Granted, if this was a county municipality under the responsibility of the county to care for, it is possible that my thoughts would be different. In addition, the county is facing unprecedented shortfalls in tax revenue. In my opinion, it would be irresponsible for the commission to approve this massive discretionary request. Sadly, it could be interpreted as a slap in the face to the working people, struggling small businesses, and the families who are already losing so much at this time. These are the folks who would be footing the bill for a private land trust venture. I encourage the county commission to hold the public hearing on this topic. Thank you for your time and consideration of my thoughts. Courtney Banks.
Thank you. I did not read this, that when the county calls your name, give your name and address for the record, and that they have 2 minutes to testify. Does that include on emails? Did an address need to be given for the last person?
No, email is fine, but the next person who wishes to speak is Phil Chick, and he is on the call.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Chick.
Good evening, Chair Sullivan and Commissioners. Phil Chick. I'm the manager of the Arch Cape Domestic Water Supply District at 32065 East Shingle Mill Lane, Arch Cape. On behalf of the Water District, I'd like to thank the Budget Committee and Clatsop County Board of Commissioners for their show of foresight and consideration for the Arch Cape Forest Project. This is a project now years in the making, which seeks acquisition of 1,521 acres of forest land bordering Arch Cape for the creation of a community forest and protected watershed. This project offers multi-generational benefits to the community of Arch Cape, the people of Clatsop County, and the state of Oregon as a whole. I'm extremely proud to say that it's gained national recognition in Washington, D.C. We expect to enter into a contract with the U.S. Forest Service and Oregon Department of Forestry in July for a $1 million Federal Forest Legacy Grant Program contract. The county's committed match funds of $250,000 will greatly bolster the realization of this opportunity. The Arch Cape Forest Project is about securing a clean, abundant source of drinking water for generations to come. In 100 years, it's very possible that the surface water sources which flow through this forest will become prolific enough to service more than the community of Arch Cape. This project's about recreation as well in Clatsop County. During the COVID shutdown, the parks were closed. It was one of the few spots on this stretch of coast that people could hike, bike, exercise, get out in nature and breathe. This project is about forestry and continuing Oregon's tradition of timber jobs which employ our bountiful natural resources to work for us, to benefit rural communities. Lastly, it's about conservation. This project's unique. It's been called unprecedented, but nearly any large-scale generational planning effort is. Being unprecedented isn't a bad thing. It's promising. Governor Oswald West naming the beaches as public land was unprecedented. The Oregon Beach Bill was unprecedented. Voting by mail even was unprecedented. These are all benefits we enjoy today. We've applied for a Forest Legacy Program grant, and this is truly legacy work we're doing with the county's help. I have no doubt this endeavor will be looked upon with gratitude and admiration generations from now with what we're doing from the people who follow us and reside in Clatsop County. This project offers a model of what forestry, clean water, conservation, and recreation can all accomplish when they're working together. Thank you for your continued consideration and support.
Thank you, Mr. Chick. Is there any other testimony, Chair of the Board? Or Clerk of the Board? I'm the Chair, you're the Clerk.
No, there's not.
Okay, thank you. I will close the public hearing. Budget adoption is scheduled for June 24th. We will now go to the second
Item B, yeah.
on our
I don't know
agenda.
if Commissioner Sullivan is breaking up and she told me to go. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go. So the next item is the 2021 budget for the Clatsop County 4-H and Extension District. This budget hearing occurred on May 13th and was approved by the 4-H and Extension Budget Committee. Staff is now asking that the board hold the public hearing to consider testimony from any and all persons that may wish to comment. And again, no action is required by the board at this time. The 2021 Budget Committee approved the appropriation authority in the amount of $722,270 for the 4-H and Extension District. And this includes a contingency in the amount of $186,160. Staff is now asking that the board hold the public hearing for the 2021 4-H and Extension proposed budget, or approved budget. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Monica. I will open the public hearing. Clerk of the Board, has anyone registered to testify?
No.
Okay, hearing that there is no public testimony, I will close the public hearing. The budget adoption is scheduled for June 24th. We will now move to the third item. This is the time set for a public hearing on the fiscal year 2021 Rural Law Enforcement District budget. May we have the staff report, please?
On May 13th, the Clatsop County RLED Budget Committee approved the district's 2021 budget excuse me, can't seem to say 2020-2021 annual budget. Staff has asked the board now hold the public hearing to consider testimony from any and all persons. And again, no action is required at this time. The 2020-2021 Budget Committee approved appropriation authority in the amount of $5,243,180 for the Rural Law Enforcement District, and this includes a contingency in the amount of $1,794,750. Staff is asking that the board now hold the public hearing for the 2020-2021 rural law enforcement district budget.
Thank you. I will open the public hearing. Clerk of the board, has anyone registered to testify?
No, they have not.
I've seen that we have no public testimony for this. I will close the public hearing. The public adoption is scheduled for June 24th. We'll now go to the fourth item. This is the time set for public hearing on the fiscal year 2021 Road District Number 1 budget. May we have the staff report, please?
On May 13th, the Clatsop County Road District Budget Committee approved the district's 2020-2021 proposed annual budget. Staff is asking that the board now hold the public hearing to consider testimony, and no action is required by the board at this time. The Budget Committee approved appropriation authority in the amount of $3,628,810 for the Road District Number 1.
Okay, thank you. I will now open the public hearing. Clerk of the board, has anyone registered to testify on the Road District Number 1 budget?
No, they have not.
Okay, seeing that we have no public testimony, I will close the public hearing, and the public adoption is scheduled for June 24th. We will now move on to the fifth and final item on the budget hearings. This is the time set for public hearing on the fiscal year 2021 Westport Sewer Service District budget. May we have the staff report, please?
On May 13th, the Westport Sewer District Budget Committee approved the district's 2020-2021 proposed annual budget, and staff is again asking that the board now hold a public hearing to consider testimony from all persons, and no action is required by the board at this time. The 2020-2021 Westport Sewer District Budget Committee approved appropriation authority in the amount of $271,100 for the Westport Sewer District, and this includes contingency in the amount of $81,130. Staff now asks that the board hold the public hearing for the Westport Sewer District 2020-2021 budget.
Thank you. I will now open the public hearing. Clerk of the board, has anyone registered to testify?
No, they have not.
Okay, hearing that we have no public testimony on this item, I will close the public hearing. The budget adoption is scheduled for June 24th. Thank you. For all your effort on this. And now we will move down to the good of the order. Do we have anyone that
It appears there's no comments.
Okay, it
on
looks
good.
like I'm back. Does anyone have anything for the good of the order?
It appears
Okay,
there's no
hearing none.
comment.
Thank you, Clerk of the Board. So I will now adjourn the meeting tonight. Thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.